Well, hot diggity daffodil. How is it going, my friend? I am Graham Moseman. It is October 11th, and this is your daily fix of all the Edmonton Oilers news you need in under 10 minutes. Welcome to Game on Edmonton. And the dust has settled on our season opening loss against the Winnipeg Jets, and somehow, despite all our rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. No, despite all our rage, Rogers Place still stands. Now, Leon Draisaitl was a guest of honor on a brand new Amazon show that we're going to get to. But first, let's take a quick step back and take a look at Wednesday's loss to the Winnipeg Jets. Now, the Oilers did have a CBA-mandated rest day today, but that didn't stop us from getting to some really interesting post-game comments that we had from the other day, including this really fascinating one from old Stuart Skinner, who, by the way, might have the absolute sickest pad setup in the league now. Like, dude, you played with Mike Smith for years, and you're only now having, like, your dark-colored pads at home? Okay, it took too long, but we'll take it. But oh boy, did those pads look good. The games didn't look good, however, but how he kind of got there and what really happened for Stewart, I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I thought that I was probably. I think that the game was a little too quick for me, and I just wasn't up to speed. And that's on me, just in the way that I was playing. Maybe it was too much aggression on my part, where I probably should have played, read the game probably a little bit better. So, again, I'm going to look at all the video and kind of check it out and see where I can improve. Made some big saves, but again, it doesn't really do much when you let in five. So,
Which is true, but at the same time, where was that in the preseason? Like, the Oilers absolutely coasted through this preseason. They didn't really have a lot of work and a lot of focus. I think the team was probably still tired compared to what they're used to. But you look at other sports and you look at teams that take the preseason seriously. You have teams like the Kansas City Chiefs or the San Francisco 49ers, if we're just going to look at the NFL specifically. Those franchises take preseason seriously. And it shows in how successful they are year over year over year. And we just didn't see that from the Oilers this season. And I'll admit, I was first to go, it's the preseason. Who cares? It'll be fine. But ultimately, I think the lazy preseason really kind of led to what we saw the other night against the Winnipeg Jets. Chris Knobloch had some interesting thoughts too. And I got to tell you, he was really frustrating for me in his presser. Now, I love what he brings almost like 99% of the time, especially compared to Dave Tippett, who just felt like, oh, well, there she goes, bud. I don't know what to tell you. Guess we didn't win. Burp, burp, burp. Or Todd McClellan, who just got progressively angrier the longer his time went on here in Edmonton. And I will say I love listening to Chris Knobloch. And Jim Matheson, don't get mad that this is a Jim Matheson question. He asked something really good, okay? I'm going to play you the whole clip in full, and just put away that this is a Jim Matheson question, because he asks a really good one.
Chris, you put Leon and Connor together late in the second period. How hard did you fight not to do that, considering your first two lines, you want to get some chemistry from those two?
I know they're going to be playing together. We played in our last exhibition game in Vancouver. And third period, I had already had arranged before the game started that they would be together just to have that some time together, because in the regular season, they're going to spend a lot of time together. So whether that's when we're chasing a game, started games, whatever, they'll play. So there's no, I don't want to do that. It's just, something that's going to happen.
So let's pick apart a couple of things he said there. So Jim Matheson, again, I don't know why he asked it this way. Do you try to avoid doing this thing? Just ask it more bluntly, Jim. Chris Knobloch said, I'm not trying to ever avoid putting Connor and Leon together because it's going to happen. We got him a little bit in the preseason. Okay, why? Why do these guys need to play together, especially when in practice they are practicing on the power play still pretty regularly? That's where a lot of that chemistry comes. but you have a brand new line, 2 players that you went out and got specifically for Leon Draisaitl to have, arguably the 2 best scoring wingers he's ever had in his time at the Edmonton Oilers in Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson. And after 36 minutes, you go, bah, we don't need to do that. We'll put Connor and Leon together. But at that point, the game was already pretty out of reach. Now, I get some of the idea being that this is a thermonuclear option you have that no other team can even come remotely close to matching. And hey, who knows? They could just spark a huge comeback. But it's the first game of the season, Chris. What are you doing? It's so frustrating on game 1 when you have a game that's basically out of reach and you're not taking the time to let new lines work some of the warts out. Because Arvidsson and Skinner are going to be awesome for this team. They're going to be unbelievable. But they're not going to get there as quick as they can if they're not playing together, Chris. Jeez. That'll wrap up our dive into the 6-0 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. We can just put that away from now on and not worry about that game. If you want to sponsor Game On Edmonton, Game Over Edmonton, or any of the incredible shows on all across the Game Over Network, please reach out to GameOverNetwork.com, our website. You can find our contact information up there. We'd love to have you on board, whether you're a business big or small, whatever your budget is. We can build you some content to get our message out to your audience. It'll be really cool. We're a small indie startup. We're gonna do our best to make it, and it'll be very cool to have you on board. So please reach out if that's something that interests you. Now, coming up on next Thursday, I hope you take some time to give this a watch, because just based on Twitter, not a lot of people did. It is a brand new show that's wonderfully exclusively to Canada. Amazon's coast-to-coast NHL show. Now, if you ever watched any NFL Red Zone or kind of know the format, they basically jump to every single game in the league, play some highlights, go to the next one, and kind of see how it's all going, so you get a good lay of the land across the league. And I know this is the very first show. Geez, we had our own technical difficulties on the first show this year of Game Over Edmonton, but it really felt like there was just not enough content to make this work, and not enough promo for it either. Like, I think the diehard hockey people knew this was happening, but if you're just a cursory fan, all the Amazon promo you saw was for the Face-Off series, which, again, is very good, but I'm also so sick of seeing that clip of Connor yelling at the team after Game 2. It happened. We get it. Please play something else and maybe promo this show. It was kind of interesting because you had Andy Petrillo, Jason Demers, and PK Subban all in studio jumping from game to game and then having guests come on at some point. And they did have a fun moment where Leon Draisaitl joined the show and caught some flack from Jason Demers on how he drinks his beer.
Your beer with a spoon, and I want to know what the hell that is about.
Dude, that would not fly out on Lake Joseph in Canada.
Now, the question was, do you drink your beer after stirring it with a spoon? We'll get through PK's stuff here, but that was the setup. Do you stir your beer with a spoon?
Anywhere, anybody. I got to hear about this. What's up with that, Leon? Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
I guess I'm not the biggest fan of the carbonation in it, so sometimes if you have a couple, they sit nicer on the stomach if you just take the carbonation out.
Which is fine. I'm pretty sure that's a European thing. So you do, Leon, drink beers however you want. That'll just wrap us up here for a Game On Edmonton. We're going to have no episode on Monday because of Thanksgiving, but we will have a couple Game On shows coming for you, including for the Saturday game with Chicago. Once that's over, the Hockey Night in Canada game, Austin is going to have your Game On Edmonton, and then he will be back again for a crossover episode with Game Over Calgary because we take on the Flames for the first time this season, Sunday at 6 o'clock. Have yourself a wonderful long weekend. That'll do it for this edition of Game On Edmonton, your daily dose of Edmonton Oilers news in 10 minutes or less, as we are at 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk on Tuesday.